so one of the first things we do is we look at if there's any staples on here. We pull them out. We don't want to cut through them. So we take the staples out. We inspect. We find them all. I know that this is good. Okay. We check to see about the color for the job. See if there's any imperfections that we have to cut around or get back. In this case, we're using dunnage, so these 3 sheets I don't need to worry about dunnage. Okay. So we're going to start the job, and to do that, we find the number in the Schelling page, which is 40727. We populate it over, and we change all the numbers. Okay, on board. Before we start cutting, we have to turn on the outside. Right about here. And we hit the green button. Grab the dunnage.
Let's pause for a moment and take a closer look at this screen. The first piece to come out is actually reversed to what you would think. The first piece to come out is on the far right, then the second, third, fourth, and fifth. All of these pieces are exactly the same size as indicated by the number on the piece. If the number is exactly the same, then the piece is exactly the same size. Now let's just review all 5 of these pieces coming out again, and then the last number 2 piece. Take note that although this last piece will come out as one big piece, eventually there'll be 2 individual shelves that will be cut out of it. This is the first shelf just coming out now. You're now looking at the artist's label screen, and just to make things difficult, it's reversed from the Schelling screen. Instead of the first piece being on the far right, the first piece is actually on the left-hand side. As each piece is cut, an X will appear over that piece and a label will be generated. You'll notice on the label that it has an A. This means that it's an adjustable shelf. It could be also an F, which means a fixed shelf. But all 5 of these are adjustable, and so as they come out, they're being turned and stacked. And this is because on the label, the first measurement is actually the length, and then the next measurement is the width. So the label in this case goes on the longer part of the board, or the length. So with these first 4 shelves that came out, and eventually the 5th one, the operator turned the shelf so the label can be put on the length or the long side. Knowing what the product is and looking at the product code, in this case an adjustable shelf, is very important to understand and to then place a label on the correct side of the board. Now let's go back in time and take a closer look at the automatic mode screen before any cuts were made. Over on the left you can see a top view of the machine and the orientation of a full sheet placed in the machine. Now of course this is just a depiction, and your sheet you actually have moved over to the right a little bit. You'll see that the detailed cut view on the right hand side has the same orientation. We didn't catch this on video, but if you were looking at the left hand side, you'd see this blue rectangle representing a full sheet being drawn back into the machine, ready to make the first cut. The very first cut will take place along this front edge, and on this detailed view it will actually highlight with a red line very similar to what is shown here. In this pattern, the next cut will be here, and then finally the last cut here. Now we can see from this first sheet that 2 large pieces are going to be cut from this. As these pieces are cut, they will come out one at a time, and then you'll actually see the first piece turned and put into the machine in this direction. That's why when this piece starts coming back out, this end becomes the very first piece in our detailed view. Now I know I'm spending a lot of time on this screen, but understanding what you're seeing is vitally important so you don't make mistakes. Before you ever cut a new sheet, you need to look at the lower right hand corner. Here you'll see the order number, and you'll also see the pattern number. In this case it's pattern number 1. It also shows the board type, and this can change from one board to the next. Here it says 3/4 inch white, and I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but if an order has multiple colors, this could change and end up being a different color. And if you're not paying attention, you'll go ahead and keep cutting white when really you should be cutting some other color. Also, you need to pay attention to the thickness. All of the board is 19.05 millimeters. That's the usual thickness. However, if you're cutting drawer material, it could be 1/2 inch or 12 millimeter or 5/8 of an inch. So you need to pay attention to the thickness as well. The color may not change, but the thickness might change. So these are very important to look at. Also, you'll see over in the lower right it says book and pattern. Under book, that tells you how many sheets you're cutting. Sometimes you're actually cutting more than one sheet. It could be 2 or 3 or even up to 6 sheets at a time. So again, you need to pay a lot of attention to this, and before you cut a new sheet, always look at this lower right hand box. Now as we go to cut the last big piece that has 2 shelves in it, we have to turn it 90 degrees and put it back into the saw so that they cut properly. Now if you look at the screen, it shows that the first piece was cut and is coming out, and the second piece, the last cut, is being made. The active piece is blue, and the red line indicates the cut that's currently being made. Now if you look on the left hand there, that green thing is actually the saw blade, and you'll see it move as it represents that cut being made.
Far left is going to be on your right down here on the board. So as it's telling you that you're going to be cutting the far left piece, that's actually the farthest rightmost piece in reality here. So you take that piece and you turn it sideways, put it in there. That is what it's telling you here, because it's split. lower door gets put on a piece of green tape first.
Let's pause it there for a second. Because this last piece isn't as wide as the other two pieces that just came out, it's going to require another cut, so it's turned 90 degrees, and that red line will cut that a little bit narrower. Now, if you remember in the offcut training video, this exact job was being shown, and on pattern number 3, the front offcut was 6 millimeters, but the back offcut was 1.7. So we couldn't make the 6 millimeters any bigger. When this happens, there's sometimes debris that gets caught underneath the board, and so you may have to stop the saw as it starts to come out before it does the next cut. Otherwise, that debris holds the board up slightly and the scoring blade may not get in there far enough and cause some chipping.
lifted the board up. Now we can put it back in. Back over here, you have to tell it where to cut again. It had made this first cut. I stopped it before making this one. So I have to press that one so it's red, and then hit the green button, and then it will cut where I want it to cut. There's two patterns. These two, we'll put them on top of each other. So right now, those two, I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to cut them ready. Now I don't have to move that out of the way. I can cut this automatically. Right there, the two blue lines, it's telling me to cut those. So I follow them in right now, hit the green button, and then I can move the other ones out of the way.
Now I'm going to stop it there again just to point out, when doing these X-cut on the small pieces, you need to make sure the side aligner is down and working. That's the silver piece here that you can kind of see in the picture. That needs to be down in position, and what that does is it holds that piece tight against the fence, and then when the saw blade cuts, it's cutting at a perfect 90-degree angle.
so the fourth pattern has one piece on a full sheet. I'm not going to cut a full sheet just for one piece. I look at the measurement, I go 355.6 by 1203. So I grab my tape measure, and we're going to go find one. I have a 14-inch piece, everything's labeled. I have a 14-inch piece here. Go into F3, but first, before switching from production to manual, we have to make sure we press the red button. Then we press the red button, okay, and then over where my mouse is, over down here, we have F2 and F3. F2 is production, which we're in. We need to go to F3 with a little hand, which is the manual page. In here, we type in our numbers. 2440 up here, we have our little cheat sheet. 2440 is 8 feet. That's the first number we type in. 4 feet is 1220. In 2420, we do a 10 for offcut reasons, and then we type in our number, 1203. Enter twice to get that little -1 there at the end there, just as the default. And if our boards are up against the fence, we just press the green button again. So we've cut our board. It's the correct size. But how do we get the sticker out? So we delete this down to its default, which is 10.58. We go to down at the bottom here, cutting optimizer. It's a different program that's always open. It's the sticker program. So you press there, you can see your sheets. You have X's over top of all the pieces that have given you stickers. You find up here, you can see the patterns where my mouse is. So you can see the first one is all X's. The second one is all X's. The third one is all X's. The fourth one is that one page, no X. If I just press it, click it, the X shows up and it automatically prints my sticker for me. I take it out. That is the one we need, and it goes directly on the board that you've manually cut. Okay. So we now can minimize. The sticker page. We're back here. You can go to F7. And see, okay, all the patterns we cut automatically have gone away from the production list and over, yep, and it stays white because we cut it manually. The machine didn't do it in the automatic mode. So, to show you that, over here on schedule list, the job number there, you can see the first 3 are fully green. They have been cut automatically by the machine and given the stickers automatically. The fourth one, again, it's not green because we did it in manual. And that's it. The job is done. It's cut. On to the next one.